How I make my Arnica and Comfrey Salve. Okay, y'all, so today's the day. I'm going to share my secret recipe for my Arnica and Comfrey Salve. So I start by getting extra virgin olive oil, and I use it in this gallon size, and I pour the whole jar in. Now this last batch, the batch that I'm going to be making here shortly, it has sat for over 6 months. But this jar, every time I use a jar, I always replace it immediately, even before I make the salve, so that I don't forget and I know I have my next batch infusing. And I don't use the quick infusion method. I use the let it soak for 6 months or even longer method. And then after I get all of this poured in here, I begin to add in my herbs. This herb here is called Arnica, and I'm going to scoop in 3 generous cups of the Arnica flowers. Now here I just want to quickly share a word of caution that Arnica is poisonous. It is not made for human or animal consumption, so external use only. So when you make this, make sure that you immediately wipe up any spills, any dropped flowers or leaves. Okay, now once I have the Arnica put in there, I screw the lid back on and I give it a vigorous shaking. That's so that I can incorporate the oil and the flowers from the Arnica all together. And then I'll leave it set there for a moment. Okay, and so next comes my comfrey root powder. I have also used comfrey leaves, but I do not have any dried comfrey leaf powder right now. And so I am going to use the comfrey root powder. And I use a light filled cup of that, and I throw that in this big old 1.5 or 2 gallon jug. And I put the lid back on and shake vigorously once again. Okay, once that is all shaken up, it can be stored in any kind of cabinet or cupboard or whatever, just at room temperature, not in direct light at all. And then give it a good shaking once or twice a week for the next 6 or 8 months. Now, you'll see here that I have added in 3/4 cup of beeswax pellets. And I turn on my crock pot to low. Now, I have a crock pot that has 3 separate little pots to it instead of one large one, so I have to mix up my batches in order to make a full batch. So I put half of the batch in here and then half of the batch in another little pot right there. And I turn it on low and put the lids on, and it usually takes 30 to 45 minutes for those pellets to completely melt. I continue to stir it and keep it on low because I don't want the wax to scorch. So this is something that you want to be attentive to, but you don't have to be neurotic about it. Just, pick up the lid and check it out and make sure that you catch it when it's, once it's done melting. For those not familiar with Arnica or Comfrey, both of these together are a real power punch. But Arnica is used for bruising swelling, sore tendons, muscles, ligaments, sore, if you tear a tendon or a muscle, sore, achy feet, shoulders that are achy, arthritis, neuropathy, those kind of things from head to toe, as long as it's external. Okay, now the added comfrey is what gives it a really good punch. Comfrey is also known as bone knit by the first people, and that is used for helping to heal broken bones and also bruising and swelling. Okay, so now I use a total of 5 cups of the infused olive oil. I have the 2 smaller pots, so I put 2.5 cups in each pot. And you'll notice that once you add that cooler oil to the hot wax, it kind of chunks up again. So you want to put it on low and cover it back up and stir it and just make sure it all melts together, infuses together again. Now once you near the end and everything is all fused together, we will want to go ahead and turn off all the heat and let it harden for several hours. And you do this so that you can check your consistency. If it's too greasy, you'll want to melt some more wax and add it to it, and do it a few tablespoons at a time. Once you get it to the consistency you want and you've melted it all back down, it's time to add your essential oils. I choose to use peppermint and eucalyptus in this salve that I make. And I add about 4 half-dropperfuls of each into each little pot. This gives it just that little bit of a spiked scent, and I have found that my clients that have purchased this from me really love that fresh scent, and I love it myself as well. So then I let this fuse together for about 5 more minutes, turn off the heat, and pour it into my waiting containers that I have. I let it sit in the containers for 2, 3, 4 hours, and then I can put the lids on and label them. The containers that I use, I purchase off of Amazon, and I really love them. I will leave a link in the description below so that if you're interested in them, you can grab them from Amazon as well. They are a 2-ounce, but they also come in 4 ounces and I think an 8-ounce option as well if you want something larger. But you can see the salve is inside of these little jars. It sets up quite nicely after several hours. Then I can add my labels onto them, and I'm ready to go. When I'm using this on my hands that get really sore, I take a generous amount and apply it on and rub it in thoroughly. Spend plenty of time rubbing it in, and it's a little bit greasy, but it will absorb in. And I like to use it the first couple of days that I'm having trouble, several times a day, like 4 or 5 times a day. Then I can back off as needed. For each one of us, it'll be something different, so just pay really close attention to what your body is telling you that you need, and you'll be able to be in control of your own health and use things accordingly. Once again, I'm discovering it's always those little things that make the biggest impact in our lives. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.